We now have a video session by Babaji Bob Kindler ji on the true meaning of Moksha or Mukti. Babaji Bob is the spiritual director of the SRV associations with ashrams in Hawaii, Oregon, and California. The editor of Nectar of Non-Dual Truth, he's also an accomplished musician and is the founder and artistic director of Jai Ma Music. A prolific author, his books include The Avadhut and his 24 Teachers in Nature, 24 Aspects of Mother Kali, 10 Divine Articles of Sri Durga, and Sri Sharada Vijnana Gita. SRV Associations is a spiritual community dedicated to living a divine life as taught and exemplified by Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Sharada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. For more information about Nectar of Non-Dual Truth, magazine and SRV associations, please visit srv.org. That is srv.org. Let's have a look at the video now.
Om Drishyam Pratitam Pravilapayan San Matram Anandaganam Vibhavayam Samahita San Bahir Antaram Va Kalam Nayetaha Sati Karma Bande Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Brahman is an indeterminable mass of pure conscious awareness. Therefore, taking what is external and what is internal, render them into one indivisible state. Then meditate upon that state, pass your time contentedly, and be free. Om peace, peace, peace. And it is that very freedom mentioned in the Vivekachudamani of Shankara that we begin this 15-minute discourse that I've been asked to do by Advaita Academy. I welcome the opportunity to share what little I know about that great soul, Adi Shankaracharya, and bring out a few of the main points of his very short life. We know that he lived some 32 years only. We also know that at the age of 6, 7, and 8, he was being taught the ancient scriptures of India and knew them thoroughly by the time he was 8 and 9, making him a very unique being in all of Indian history, which is already full of numerous wonderful beings, enlightened souls. And we know by 10 he had that immediate recall of all the dharmic or all the jnanam, or the dharmic lore. This means that if any proof is needed, reincarnation is definitely true, or a relative truth, which is very good for us to remember in this cycle of rebirth that he and Lord Buddha and other great souls in India talked about, brought that up as a main teaching for people in their times, and therefore come to know that the past, present, and future have an innate connection. And he was very fond of bringing that out, the 3 phases of time, and connecting them with the 3 kinds of karma. Sanchita, Prarabdha, and Agami, that is past, present, and future karma. These are all things that need to be thought about in one's present lifetime. So he was very clear about that in his lifetime. We know he lived somewhere in 700 AD, and it's been some 1200, 1300 years since his great appearance in India. And all the wonderful things he did, and they say there's some 7 phases of his life. He had a very charming boyhood and childhood, and a very sweet relationship with his mother. And he was a young student and a brahmacharya. Then he became a astute practitioner and knower of Brahman at an early age. He entered into his acharya phase after he sought counsel from his own guru, Govindapada, who was the incarnation of the father of yoga, who lived back around 140 AD. So there you have some 500 and some years. We find father of yoga back on the world scene as Govindapada, Shankara's guru, and whose guru was Gaudapada, the great Advaitin. So those three beings, those three great beings, Gaudapada, Govindapada, and Shankara, filled in that period, 500, 600, 700 AD, which was right around the time of the fall of the present Buddhist era. And very important in bringing back the ritualism of India. A lot of people don't think about this or know about it, but Shankara, usually known as being this non-dualist, this great Advaitin, was also very keen on bringing back the fallen ritualism and resurrecting a lot of the temples in India and establishing the 4 cardinal pilgrimage places around India that people to this very day still go on pilgrimage to. And at the same time being a Shaivite, a worshipper of Lord Shiva, and a devotee of Divine Mother. So all three of those great souls were Samayachara Tantrasists, they were Shaivites, and they were also Advaita Vedantists. And to get a real clear picture of the import of their appearance on earth, we probably need to look at it in those 3 ways, to try and describe a little bit of who they were and what they represented. So I chanted from the Vivekachudamani to begin this little 15-minute visitation with all of you in a time here, 2020 AD, where the world right now is under the press of a pandemic, a kind of enforced isolation. You know, the monks and yogis take that on consciously and like to separate themselves from society and go to caves and forests and spend long time under bo trees and in the wilderness and so forth, whether it be 40 days or 12 days and 12 nights or out in the desert like Muhammad, in order to check in with this great self within, which is different than the ego self. The ego self would be something that Shankara might sing about in one of his great verses. Like in the Nirvana Shatkam, he would say, Om Manobhujyahamkara Chitaninam Nacha Shrotra Jive Nacha Grananetre Nacha Vyama Bunir Natejo Navayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. That being the first verse of the Nirvana Shatkam, composed by Shankara, in which he says, Mano Buddhahamkara, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not the ego. So Naham, I'm none of those things. He's automatically giving out one of the basic teachings. Maybe not the highest teaching, but it does lead to the Advaita, discovering the Atman within. Whether you call that Buddha nature or Satori or Asampragyato or Nirvikalpa, one of the verses there sings Aham Nirvikalpa Nirakara Rupa. So I'm the very form, Rupa, of non-action, of non-karma. And my very nature is non-dual state, Nirvikalpa. So I hope this is along the lines of what I'm expected to speak about, and I hope people like to hear it, because today, in the pandemic, I say, is all around us, and the virus is out there and people are being careful not to catch it. But in another way, if you ask Shankara about it, he might say, well, what's all around us out there is just another name for death. And the changing phenomena out there is just another name for mutability or ephemerality or transitoriness. And so he's not so worried about the death of the body. So if he's not the mind, the intellect, and the ego, he's also not the body. And he says, I'm not the five senses, I'm not the five elements. He goes on doing the dissolution of the mind stream, of which he was known for so well. And you'll find those slokas, of course, in his scriptures. Now, this is another thing about Shankara that's unique among so many luminaries of India. He was considered an avatar, is considered an avatar. And even when he's not, in some circles, he's considered an amsa avatar, partial incarnation. So let them bicker and argue about that as they will. This soul who was illumined at the age of 10 and found his teacher in his early teens and was doing commentaries on such abstruse scriptures, Hesta Brahma Sutras, when he was a youth, and followed by hundreds and thousands of people by the time he was in his late 20s, and had his own following of direct disciples before his early passing. Can't say death in his case, because he already says, Nam Richorna Shanka, Nam Me Jati Veda, I have no death because I was never born. So he's passing away from the body at 32 years of age. It reminds us in contemporary times of Swami Vivekananda accomplishing so much for the world and passing away at 39, I think, years of age. So these great souls accomplish so much in a short time. And some of the things Shankara accomplished were just those very amazing things that caused people to call him an avatar, a divine incarnation. That is, he composed 14, 15 scriptures maybe, Vivekachudamani, Aparokshanubhuti, Atmabodha, and Drigdrisha Viveka. On and on, you could make this list of great scriptures which he covered and pulled out of his very being, composed them. So not very many beings, and certainly no avatars on record we can think of, took the time to compose scriptures. They commented on them, but Shankara did that as well. Not only composed them, but commentated on the other great scriptures like the Gita and the Upanishads. And thanks to him now we probably still are focusing on the Upanishads in this day and time, because there were 108 of them, as you know, or are 108 of them, and 10 of them have his stamp of authority because he did the commentary on them, maybe even 11, they say. So this is a illumined soul who gave us this idea of, another thing he did was brought back this idea of Jivan Mukti, living liberated souls. You could see by this chart, for instance, I put up here for quick reference, that he gave us this definition of what a Jivan Mukta is, so that we'd know in this day and age what the highest goal is to reach for while one's in the body. Jivan, embodied, and Mukta, liberated. So you're liberated while you're living in the body. You don't have to wait for a post-mortem emancipation to call yourself free or have others call you free. Oh, he was a free soul, but was means when he was in the body. So you see, he said here, a free soul lives in the mortal physical frame as Brahman. He sports in the world as the playground of Shakti. He sees the universe as transcendental consciousness and views all objects as representations of the word, Om, A-U-M. Those four things might characterize the definition of a living liberated soul, if you wanted to put them to the test, when you looked at great souls of this age, in your lifetime, in your time, that is, like Swami Vivekananda and others, Ramana Maharshi, great souls like that. They were living liberated in the body, and so they had this wonderful facility for expressing Brahman as Brahman disporting in the physical universe even, and not just in the waking state, but illumined dream state, illumined deep sleep state, and Turiya, or Samadhi, Nirvana, if you want to use that as stotram I just chanted, is called the Nirvana Shatkam, 6 verses on the state of a living liberated soul. So these are beautiful teachings we have here. And we know that he also brought to bear his powers of commentary on the yoga darshana. Of all the 6 darshanas, Vedanta is the only one left of them that's got a life in this world. Yoga has been really used for something physical now, unfortunately. But he did his commentary on yoga because his guru was, I said, the incarnation of father of yoga, Patanjali. We call him the father of yoga affectionately, because yoga has been long-lived. And so his view of yoga is he took a look at the 8-limbed yoga, Ashtanga yoga, and he gave us things, a quick run. First you have to control the speech, then you have to remain alone and practice yoga in a solitary way. Might be a good time to use this pandemic, where you have to stay home to do that. Start practice some of your yoga and bring it forth again. Control your senses and your mind. Control of thought next. This is the 4 doorways of these doorways leading to realization. Then after that, you would attain to peace, something that we've lost in this day and age is our peace of mind. And Holy Mother Shisharda Devi said, that's first and foremost. You never should lose your peace of mind. That's most important for gaining all other higher levels of yoga, such as the ego vanishing. Mano Buddha Hamkara. I'm not the ego, so that also has to diminish, or as Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, get ripened, so it's not in the way anymore. And finally, join the witness with Brahman and enjoy the bliss of Brahman. Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. That's how they sing that. And finally, attachment to and detachment from objects at will. So a Jivan Mukta has to be able to focus on everything, including everything he just renounced, and also be willing and able to take his attention off those very things. That kind of flexibility is what's called yoga, and it's also the makeup of a Jivan Mukta, a living liberated soul. So you've asked me an impossible thing here to give a talk on Shankara and only use 15 minutes. I gave you a little bit about his ripened ego. That is how he grew up and what he was like in his youth and how he found his teacher and went across India establishing the 4 cardinal holy places that are still used today. Had hundreds and thousands of people following him. And also then gave you a taste of the stotrams and that he wrote. Maybe a good place to end because I've run out of time already, but we could say this, that he also wrote beautiful stotrams of bhakti. He's usually known to be a Advaita Vedantist, but people don't give him his full due. He wrote some scriptures to Divine Mother, some songs that is, to Divine Mother, bhajans and stotrams, Bhavani, Annapurna, so he was a believer in the goddess. And basically he also did this beautiful stotram to Govinda where he sings, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate, Samprapte Sanihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karine, Satsangat Ve Nisangatvam, Nisangat Ve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohat Ve Nishchalitatvam, Nishchalitatva Jivan Mukti. Baba Govinda. So there he gives his definition for you of how to attain Jivan Mukta. First, get holy company, Satsangat Ve, then get Satsangat Ve Nirmohatvam, get freedom from delusion. From that, get Nishchalitatvam, steadiness, freedom from anxiety and restlessness, and that will lead you to a living liberated soul. And then you are taking everything external, everything internal, rendering into one indivisible state, meditating upon that state, being contented and being free. So here is my short 15 minutes of sharing with you some teachings about and from Adi Shankaracharya here just a few days before his birthday on April 28th this year. Namaste.
We thank Babaji for his profound talk on Jivan Mukti and also for his wonderful music. Thank you all for attending this particular session by him. The next session is at 6:30 p.m. IST, and it is on Shankara's Saundara Lahari, The Formless and the Form by Bharat Gupta ji, followed by another live session on Shankara's contributions to Bharat in Tamil by Venugopalan Sankaranji. Hope to see you all back here. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.